Okay, in this video we're looking at the Brisbane Broncos' poor start to the 2019 NRL season, and there are some real. It's poor. Let's not kid ourselves. It's actually, I think, the worst start the Broncos have had in a very, very, very long time. They opened their campaign against the Melbourne Storm away from home. Now, there is no shame in losing to the Melbourne Storm, but it's how they lost. They were dominated. And I watched this game, and they were dominated. From the first whistle to the final whistle, they were second best throughout. And the Melbourne Storm were allowed to control the pace and direction of the game. The Broncos, very sloppy, not enough control, and Darius Boyd as a captain. Yeah, should he remain captain? Should Gillette be captain? That's a debate, I think, for Broncos fans and the Broncos management, really. But the Storm got an easy ride. The Storm built up a lead. The Broncos had a purple patch, but they left themselves with too much to do, and the Storm were already comfortable. The Storm were comfortable. The Storm never were sweating this one. Very comfortable. Corey Oates ran himself into the ground for the Broncos. Wasn't getting much back support from the rest of his team. And when I say ran himself into the ground, he was done at the end of the game. He could barely stand up. That's not good enough. The Storm were allowed to be too comfortable. That's away from home. At home, second round, they beat the North Queensland Cowboys in the Queensland Derby and win well, 29 points to 10. So they, 2 rounds in, 1-1, lost 1. It's not the end of the world. You're feeling your way into the tournament. There's been a lot of changes in the coaching setup, playing roster. It's a younger forward pack. You're gonna get that. You got to give them a bit of confidence, and that was a very, very confident win. I've seen highlights of it. Very confident win. They look completely different. Completely different. They go back to Suncorp, and it's completely different. It's a different story altogether. Now, the Cowboys did have a very gruelling match in testing conditions against the Dragons in round 1. Did that have an effect? Possibly. But it gets interesting in round 3. The loss to the Dragons, possibly the most unstructured game I've seen in a very long time for the Broncos. Against the Storm, there was at least some idea that when they had the ball, there was a bit of structure, but not enough. There's not enough control, and it really showed up against the Dragons, a side coming off back-to-back defeats in the opening weekends. And the Dragons, for some reason, like coming out the blocks like a freight train, and they did so again. Except in this game, they didn't run out of puff. They kept going. Doesn't matter how sloppy the Dragons were, they weren't prepared to give up this time and let their heads drop. While they were sloppy and it was a very unstructured game, which it was. Part of the reason for that unstructure was Widdop and Corey Norman swapping halves fullback regularly throughout the game. They would swap positions. And the Broncos had set up for Widdop to be in the fullback, not in the halves, and then whatever. And they just kept swapping Corey Norman and Gareth Widdop round in the halves fullback combo. And it really threw the Broncos. That really threw them defensively. And this is a game the Broncos should have won. The Dragons kept, when they got ahead, they would give the ball back and allow the Broncos back into the game. They really would. And the Broncos didn't have that ruthless streak either. They couldn't get the game by the scruff of the neck and wrest full control. So, very open, very chaotic game. Really entertaining to watch. I think it's the best game I've watched so far this season. I'm not disputing that. I think it's been the best game for me that I've watched so far this season. Now, I haven't been able to watch most of the games. I watched some. That was highly entertaining. There's probably going to be a lot better games this season, but that, for me, so far, best game of the season for me that I've watched. But that was me as a neutral. If I was a Broncos fan, I'd be very, very upset. If I was a Dragons fan, I'd be concerned. But I'm neither. I'm a neutral in that one. But it was highly entertaining as a rugby league fan. I really enjoyed watching that. If you are a coach of rugby league, it's probably a game where if you're coaching youth level and you want to teach the kids how to play properly, use that as an example of that's a mistake. You shouldn't do that. You've got to be more controlled, more patient. There was a lot of rushed plays in there, and the Broncos' inexperience in the forward pack was telling, because Corbin and Tarek Sims especially had fun for the Dragons. They really took the battle to the Broncos forward pack and I think won that battle. The game against the Roosters, the less said about this game, the better. The Tedesco try where Darius Boyd just doesn't put any effort in. sums up the situation. And we'll get to Darius Boyd later in the video, but 36 points to 4. Oh dear. Now, I know the Roosters, defending premiers, they beat the Storm in the final last year. 2 best teams in the comp last year. There is no shame in losing to the defending premiers, and there's no shame in losing to the grand finalist runner-up. No shame in that, especially when it's the Storm and the Roosters, 2 of the most successful sides in rugby league history. And the Storm, one of the most successful sides in NRL, in the NRL era, and the Roosters, the second most successful side of all time. There is no shame in losing to those 2 teams. There is, however, when you're losing by 32 points, that doesn't happen for the Broncos often. And the Tedesco try with Darius Boyd, I've never seen such a lack of effort from a leader of a team at any level, especially at first grade, and a captain and a leader and a player of Darius Boyd, his caliber. And we'll talk about Darius Boyd in a minute, but Jesus Christ. If you follow the Mole, the NRL Mole, he's on Twitter. He's an NRL journalist. His nickname is the Mole. He's really funny. He makes me chuckle. I suggest you give him a follow on Twitter and just look at the GIF that he's posted of. It basically shows Darius Boyd's failure in defence. It's basically a replay GIF. You'll be screaming at your tablet, smartphone, laptop, PC, whatever. You'll be not very happy. The less said about that defeat to the Roosters, the better, until I actually fully watch the game. If I can catch a full match replay on the internet, or if I can be bothered to pay a stupid sum of money to the NRL website, which gives full exclusive rights to the NRL online in this country. I'll try and catch some highlights, but from what I've read online and the match report I've read, probably best if you're a Broncos fan that you didn't catch the game, you don't read that, just for your own mental well-being. I'm being deadly honest, because that was not good. The next game is against the Tigers. On a serious note, the next game is against the Tigers. It is at home. If you look at their scoring, their home scoring is actually not bad. They've got 53 points at home for 35 against. So their home scoring ratio is good. Admittedly, they lost one, they've won one, but at home, they score more than they concede so far. Small sample size, but if they continue on that rate, their home form should be okay. Their away form, however, that massive thumping defeat to the Roosters has really makes the scoring look really lopsided. It's 58 points they've conceded. They've only scored 16. That is not sustainable if you want to make finals footy. Now, this is a very small sample size, I know, and there is time for the Broncos to turn it around. Absolutely. They've got to do it quick, though. Now let's get on to the writing in red. This is the important stuff that I thought I would highlight. The coach change. Now, Wayne Bennett swapping with Seibold was meant to happen in 2020. And then over the course of last year, it was decided to do the swap a year early. And that's totally fine. But I think maybe they should have waited that extra year to see if Seibold was the real deal as a coach. He had a great season last year with the Bunnies. If he could repeat that this year with the Bunnies, absolutely, it looks like a good idea. But we'll never know, because Wayne Bennett is now having a great season with the Bunnies so far. So, what do I know? But Anthony Seibold, young coach, not very experienced, had a very, very, very good season last year, absolutely. So far this season, it's not looking rosy, is it? It's not. You've got to look at Wayne Bennett's percentages, though. Now, I know the writing goes a bit wonky here, but overall, in the seasons he coached, which I think 23 or 24 seasons, I always seem to get this wrong, but I know he had a 64% win percentage as coach of the Brisbane Broncos in his 2 spells combined. 64% win percentage. Just let that sink in. Okay, it's sunk in. Yeah, you don't replace that easily. When you win 2/3 of your games under a coach, you don't replace that easily. And 64% win percentage is actually higher than the Broncos' overall win percentage all time. So that's, again, telling about how important Wayne Bennett was to this organisation. Now we get on to the other issues, the young forward pack. Now, Sam Thaiday has retired. Corbin Sims has moved on. Other players have also moved out the side or retired, but I highlighted these 2. Sam Thaidays' retirement is telling. as soon as the agreement with Wayne Bennett and Anthony Seibold, the swap of coaching roles between the Bunnies and the Broncos was sped forward a year, Sam Thaiday decides last season is his last season. He doesn't want to move to New South Wales to play in Sydney. He wants to stay in the Brisbane, South Queensland area. Had Wayne Bennett gone to the Titans, I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Thaiday goes, "Can I join the Titans, please?" and plays on. Sam Thaiday obviously doesn't want to play on Anthony Seibold. Decides to retire. And Sam Thaiday wasn't actually that old. A lot of players go on to their late 30s. He's only in his early 30s, so bit of a surprising retirement for me anyway, but it might have been in the pipeline for quite some time. Obviously, Corbin Sims being let go to the Dragons to rejoin his brother Tarek. They missed Corbin Sims. Corbin Sims schooled them last round when he was playing for the Dragons. Yeah, they definitely miss Corbin Sims' physicality and abrasiveness up front, because that young forward pack does look a little bit lost, like when Gillette's not on the field. They look a bit lost, and I know they've got the young some young players and some really like young Fafita, the baby Fafita brother. He's really exciting, but he's 18, 19 years old. You can't expect an 18, 19-year-old to be your forward leader. I know he's exciting. I know he's got some good power. He could probably be end up being a centre. Really, he did really well in the Indigenous All-Star game. But he's not experienced at this level yet, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's going to be impetuous. There's not enough experience in that forward pack. Darius Boyd, captain. Okay. This is where there's an online poll being done after the defeat to the Roosters. And I think it's 86% now want him dropped. It's been steadily rising as the hours pass of Broncos fans and rugby league fans in general who think Darius Boyd should be dropped from this team. The thing is, he is the captain of this team. And unless he is injured, I can't see Anthony Seibold wanting to take his captain out. Anthony Seibold is stuck with Darius Boyd as captain. So let's have a look at what's gone wrong. The Tedesco try in the last game. Oh dear. You have to look at the lack of effort in defence. It's not what you expect from Darius Boyd or your captain in general, someone who's got to lead by example at times. No, under the high ball, he's been fine. I'm going to say that. Watching the game against the Storm and the game against the Dragons, under the high ball, he's no problems there. He can tidy up under the high ball. Not an issue. But physically in defence and positionally in defence, when you got a guy running the ball, there's issues. He over or under commits, depending if he's got into the line to help. To join that line or be that sweeper defender. That's very evident with the James Tedesco try for the Roosters. Oh God. But it's his effort. It's the way he commits. Once he's overcommitted, he's not bothered in trying to assist with that tackle. Even just grabbing hold with an arm and just pulling. He doesn't want to get involved in the contact. And he walks back towards the try line. There's no interest there. He's done that a lot. He's been caught out of position a lot. He's been falling off tackles a lot. And I know he's lost a half a yard of pace. He's not as quick as he was. But he's not, getting the players round. Let's say there's a breaking play because of an injury or a water break or whatever it may be. He's not getting the players round and having a little chat with his outside backs or his forward pack or his halves. He's not leading in that sense, and he's not leading by example because the effort he's putting in defence is not there. And there could be a variety of reasons for that. But defensively, he's been a shambles, especially in the games I've seen. And if I can get to watch any of the highlights of the Roosters game, they will probably highlight some of his defensive frailties. I have no doubt of that. But from what I read out of the Roosters game, the match reports and what people who are actually watching it posting on Twitter, because I follow every single NRL club on Twitter, highly damning of Darius Boyd. He's copping a lot of heat online. And I do feel sorry for professional sportsmen when they cop a lot of abuse online. But the criticism, if it's constructive, is there. His effort isn't there, and I think his career is starting to go off the cliff edge. I think this this could be near the end of Darius Boyd. But he is the captain of the side, but he doesn't seem to be leading. He's not seeming to, be communicating with his other players. And defensively, he's not being he's dropping off tackles, and then positionally, he's been found flat-footed and out of position, and made to look like a rookie by other players. So yeah, there's a big poll calling for him to be dropped. We'll have to see. I don't think he's the only problem. I think it's a team effort as well. The young forward pack, I think their confidence is a bit shaky. But you would think after shutting down Jason Taumalolo in the second game, and shutting down the North Queensland Cowboys in that second game, that would have given them some confidence. But against the Dragons, they couldn't, seal the victory. Very sloppy, and the Roosters have just beaten them up. Like I've never seen the Broncos have such a poor start to a season that I can think of, where they've lost 3 out of the 4, and they're away form. If that is just carried on throughout the season, they're not making finals football, because if they keep that scoring rate up, where they're being outscored like every 5 points conceded, they're scoring 1, or let's say every 10 points they concede, they score 2. That's not sustainable. There is no way, if your away form continues to be that bad, that you're going to make finals football. And if you do make finals football because you might win the odd game away from home and your record might make the top 8, you're not getting very far. So it's going to be interesting to see what Anthony Seibold does. It's going to be interesting to see what changes are made to the team. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond against the West Tigers next week, because that's going to be a key game. If they lose that game, they are in serious trouble then. And Seibold will be under pressure this season unless results start turning. If they can get a couple of wins together, string a couple of wins together, and be a bit more respectable, that pressure will ease. But if they lose a third game in a row, they are in trouble. But there we go. That's my view on it. There's a lot more players who've moved on and retired over the years, and you cannot underestimate how important Wayne Bennett as a coach has been to this side over its entire history. Bearing in mind he's been there for most of the time and a 64% win rate. That's not easily replaced, as the Broncos are now finding out. But thank you very much for watching. If you are a Broncos fan, am I wrong in this? Especially the Darius Boyd criticism. I know over 80% of rugby league fans, including Broncos fans, want him dropped. That's saying something when opposition fans who are neutrals are saying, we saw that game on the telly, the guy's hopeless, drop him. That says something. And you've got to look online for the criticism of Darius Boyd. But let's see what happens going forward. Let's see if they can beat the Tigers at home. If they can't do that, they're in trouble. But thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have some more videos for you very soon.